Welcome, everyone, to episode 26 of the official podcast for Guardian 1, a Destiny group dedicated to the prosperity of Guardians everywhere. We broadcast live Thursdays at 8 Pacific, 11 Eastern, right here on twitch.tv/Guardian 1 Network. My name is Remy, and tonight I am joined by River.
Keep moving forward.
Crimson Warlock.
Evening, everybody.
Jez.
Beetlejuice.
Oh, man. And Agrios.
Greetings, Guardians.
We are going to be talking about all things Destiny, but first, housekeeping.
All right, Guardians. Thank you for listening in on the podcast, however it is that you choose to listen. Be sure to follow Guardian 1 on Twitter at G1Net. That's G1NET. And just a reminder that we only use the number 1 in its shortened form for Guardian 1, such as the Twitter account. So again, that's G, the number 1 in ET. In addition, be sure to check out the Guardian 1 website at guardian1.net. You can also send us feedback to our email, feedback@guardian1.net. We also have a Bungie.net forums group that's currently at 129 members. If you want to join, just search for the group name Guardian 1. Guardian 1 has its own clan, so if you want to join the Guardian 1 clan, just select the buttons that say set as PlayStation clan or set as Xbox clan after you join the group. We utilize the forums for comments and feedback, so be sure to join the conversations going on there. Big thank you to all those currently in the Twitch chat. As Remy said at the top of the podcast, you can watch the show live at twitch.tv/Guardian1 Network. We broadcast every Thursday at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific. Can't catch the show live? You can always go to the Guardian 1 YouTube channel at youtube.com/Guardian1 Network. Guardian 1 is a proud member of the Guardian Radio Network, so be sure to check out the Guardian Radio Network website at theguardiansofdestiny.com. There you'll find all the different podcasts as part of the network, including the flagship podcast, Guardian Radio. They broadcast every Monday night at 10:30 p.m. Eastern, 7:30 p.m. Pacific on twitch.tv/Guardian Radio. You can also follow their Twitter account at Guardians of D and their YouTube channel, youtube.com/Guardian Radio. The other podcasts within the network include Warlock School, the DoD podcast, which is for the Dads of Destiny, TTL Party Chat, what's that new one? Robust Radio, that's the newest one, and also the Audio Grimoire Card podcast, which is called Ghost and Echoes, which I highly recommend to everybody who has not listened into that. If you're at all interested in the lore, go ahead and find out what they got there at Ghost and Echoes.
I think that's your cue.
Yeah, unmute yourself.
I keep waiting, to see if River comes up with like a way to back to you, Remy, or some way of me knowing, like, I don't know. So every week I wait to see what it is, and this week it was actually nothing. Like usually you'll say something unintelligible, like rooted up, and so I'm like, oh, what is it? Like that must be something cool. I can't wait for further explanation. And just crickets. Not even crickets.
Hey, okay. Next time. I'll keep on doing something like that.
It's like, it's funny. It's hilarious. Okay, so we have a ton of stuff to go over. So let's just throw it right to Agrios, where he will lead us through the very interesting last 2 weeks since we've last gone. So, Agrios, over to you, Agrios.
Thank you for the introduction, Remy. I appreciate it. Let's just get right into the juicy bits. Some time ago, Planet Destiny detailed a number of items and things coming in upcoming expansions, including the House of Wolves. Recently, however, there's been a new picture dump on Reddit by Mega Man EXE4, a Japanese Redditor and Guardian, who has uncovered a wealth of information about the House of Wolves. Now, Deej has addressed this and noted that much of this could be placeholders, and that part of the purpose of this data being there is to occupy the space for upcoming information. So any and all of this may change. If the images are to be believed, then the new vendor armor will be light level 30 to 39. And the House of Wolves release date will be May 19th. Have you guys had a chance to look over these images? Planet Destiny has an excellent spread of them. I will link that in the comments.
Man, Planet Destiny has a huge amount of resources beyond just that specific one. And I'll just throw out a quick plug to it. It's the rare weapons that, like some of you have come across these, the BNGL scout rifle and things of this nature. And they have a really great write-up about all of the rare weapons you get from the Crucible or random strikes that you might, pass over. But in regular Crucible, where the specific damage values don't come into play, are really worth using. So I definitely want you guys to check that out. But additionally, I had a chance to look through these, and I didn't want to, but the first thing I saw about any of it on Twitter was just a picture of some hunter armor, and everything looks so amazing and awesome. Like all of the armor this time around was kind of bland. Like I actually really hated all of the vendor warlock chest pieces. Like, what is it with the half ripped one leg? It just looks gross. And everything that I've seen so far coming out of that House of Wolves looks so cool. I want to pick up every piece of it. It looks amazing. But like I was talking with a couple of these guys previously, there's plenty of time for Bungie to ruin it. Plenty of time for them to make it real ugly and not worth it. So don't get your hopes up. But for me, the leak was awesome. Like, it really, really made me want to gather up those pieces of equipment and gear, and I am working my way towards that. I have a methodical, a certain method that I'm employing towards this House of Wolves. What about you, River? Did you check out that link or that leak?
Not really too much. I did see the hunter helmet that they have lined up for the next expansion, and that helmet looks sweet.
Right?
I'll get up. I
Absolutely.
really want to get my hands on that one.
So why didn't you check it out? Did you not want to ruin it for yourself, or or what?
That was one of the things I wanted to do. But last time, before Dark Below came out, I know Planet Destiny had some good stuff coming out for that as well. Very good resource, I might add. And it was nice to see all the different gear and stuff. But I wouldn't mind just kind of going in blind about it.
Good luck with that.
No. It's the nature of this podcast.
Right. Crimson Warlock, what about you? Did you have a chance to check out that information?
Yeah, I looked at it. Pretty interesting stuff. I hope that a lot of it's more true of that it's changed, and that we'll see a few different stuff, and that was just placeholder.
Yeah, that makes sense. And actually, that was something that Agrios is going to bring up here in a second. That Deej has commented on this leak, and he says, yeah, it's fun to check it out, but this was mostly so that there was a place in the game that they could integrate this to. So stats aren't worth getting upset about, things like this. But I hope that it remains largely unchanged, at least visually. Visually, I feel like they really did something cool and special. And as much as I want to get excited for the Hunter, or as much as I want to get excited for the Titan, because that's who I visualize myself as, the Hunter just has the coolest stuff. Like, I saw a chest plate with like this additional piece of plating going over one side of the shoulder. Like, I don't know. It looked awesome. Looked way awesome.
Thank you.
What about you, Jez? Did you check out the leak?
Well, it's all the vendor gear, right? Like just the same as what would get you to 31 in this expansion, but they said they're trying not to do that for the next expansion. So a lot of the people that are already 32 probably aren't going to use this gear.
Right? That's a good point, and something that we will be addressing shortly here. What about you, Agrails? Did you have a chance to go through all of that stuff?
I didn't go through it with a fine tooth comb, but I did look over it. I got some of the more general details. Some things I didn't mention that some of you may find interesting. The new heroic and weekly appear to be capped at 32. The new strike playlist is supposed to be called Dragon, and it will be a level 28 strike playlist.
That's awesome.
And the new raid is supposedly called the Arena, and of course takes place in the Reef.
Very cool. Very cool.
Moving on, speaking of loot and things, Luke Smith, one of Bungie's lead designers, commented on NeoGAF earlier this week that along with all this new gear, they are making a pledge not to repeat some of the mistakes they made with the first DLC. Two that he notes is that vendor gear invalidating the effort of Vault of Glass raiders was a mistake, and upgrading an exotic resetting its talents was a mistake. A lot of players were unhappy about losing all that time they put into their exotics. He goes on to say that our philosophy about rewards/loot continue to evolve as we see how players play and react. We will continue to improve acquisition stories and frequency. My understanding of the perception is that Crota's end drop rates are much improved versus Vault of Glass. Footnote below. Lessen the grind and get players to run the fun parts of their arsenal faster. On Crota's End, drop rates versus Vault of Glass. The Forever 29 meme was a killer for us, referring to the fact that many players were stuck at 29 for an excessive period of time trying to find that one last piece of armor from the Vault of Glass. We sat down and talked about the rewards for Vault of Glass and the rates versus Crota's End, and ended up with the following. Increased drop rates globally in Crota's End. We wanted dedicated players to be around 32 or real close by the time hard mode came out. Increase the variability of perks that a given piece can roll. The goal here, players would reach 32 easier than 30, but would have more customization and options to build the perfect set in terms of stats, perks, weapon affinities. The part where this didn't work as well as we had hoped is with the shard economy. Shards are a barrier between you and equipping a sweet new piece of gear. We want fewer barriers to equipping upgrades. The shard economies erect these barriers between players and their new piece of gear they just got. We're not intending to adjust the shard economy for this tier. We don't want to invalidate player effort again, but removing the barrier between that new drop you're excited to get and actually being able to equip it as a member of your arsenal are something we will do going forward.
Yeah, I noticed this time around that people who run the raid frequently, or even at all, even once a week, on one character, were finding tons of pieces of gear. Like the gear was definitely not the problem this time. It was definitely the shards in order to level it up. Like I hear about that a lot on Twitter as well. And so yeah, it's awesome that they address that. You know, people aren't as upset about the shards or as upset about the pieces of gear as they are about the shards, and that's awesome. But what I'm curious to know is how they're going to offer new gear in from the vendors without it being okay. So there's two tiers. There's the vendor gear that brings you to one level, and then there's raid gear that brings you to another level. And I totally feel this way. Like I tried really hard in that Vault of Glass to get to level 30. Like level 30 was this huge insurmountable total. You know, if you were level 30, you were at the tip top, and then instantly overnight, yeah, all of that information was just or all of that work was completely invalidated, as everything in the tower is now light level 33. So I can't I can't imagine how they're going to offer better gear without it instantly invalidating everybody's work, which is actually part of the reason why I'm not trying as hard as I was with Vault of Glass. Also Mythoclast. I still don't need my Mythoclast, and I'm still excited to get that. But how are they going to do it? Like, I feel like people who ground their way up to level 32 at this point. I mean, so light level goes, you could reach 29 with vendor gear originally, right? And then 30, you had to get that vault gear, right?
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
Yeah, no,
right.
you're
You
right.
needed one exotic and 3 pieces of vault gear, where you had to have at least that to make 30.
So now the difference is level 31 and level 32, right?
hmm
So I'm wondering if maybe they'll just bump up vendor gear the slightest bit, so that because if you're still level 31, like, I don't know, maybe they're going to introduce a much bigger range between, instead of it being 33 for vendor gear and 36 for raid gear, what if it was 36 for vendor gear and then 39 for raid gear? Does that make sense?
But that would still invalidate the Crota Zen folks, because their gear maxes out at the 36. So people would just be able to buy equivalent to their gear at the vendor. And that's what I took to mean anyway when he said the new vendor gear invalidated the Vault of Glass effort, was that it got you up 2 or higher than the Vault of Glass did. So if the new vendor gear got you up 2 or higher what Crota Zen gear did, wouldn't that just be invalidating the Crota Zen gear?
I mean, it would have to, right? It would have to.
Maybe they're not going to offer full sets within the vendor gear. It'll just be like one piece that's a level 36 or what is it, 39, whatever, the next one. So maybe each week you'll have an opportunity to grab a new piece that'll get you to that next level.
Right, or like saying. Perhaps, yeah, like maybe the gauntlets and the boots will only be the high ones, and if you have a full set of Crota Zen gear already, you'll be able to use those 2 pieces to get to the next level right away, but everyone else is going to be looking for their helmet or chest piece.
And personally, I would like to see a mix of money, I guess. I'm lost for words here. Like using both Vanguard marks and Crucible marks to buy gear.
That would be
like
cool.
One piece as another way to kind of curb the how quickly you level up type of deal.
I like it.
They tried that once with commendations.
So is it? So do you have anything else on that, River? Was that because I was going to ask you if you had ideas on how they could do that, and I want to make sure that you said your piece.
Well, that was really off the top of my head, but I did want to comment that I feel complete opposite from what everybody else thinks pretty much about invalidating raid gear, because if you go into level 32 into the Vault of Glass right now, you're still considered a level 30. You're still considered equal to the highest level enemy that you have, and you're not going to do any extra damage. So I think raid gear is still extremely valuable to have, especially Vault of Glass gear if you want to go back into the Vault of Glass. That's just my piece.
I'm glad that you have that opinion, because I like it a lot. Crimson Warlock, what about you? Do you have an idea about how they're going to balance this? Offering new vendor gear, but because I can't imagine that they're going to keep it at the same light level that it is right now, because who would buy that? Everybody at this point is at least 30 or 31 or 30 on their way to 31, just by virtue of daily grind or however often you play. Like, there's enough legendary drops that I think everybody right now is 30 on their way to 31. How do you think that they're going to maintain a balance, and how do you think they're going to bring the whole system up?
My thoughts on this matter, like, I've been thinking about it for the last couple of days since it's kind of come out, and since that post from Luke Smith. And my only thought is that level 31, might be the lowest entry point into the newest raid. To me, that almost seems like the only way to not not invalidate raid gear is make it so that you can use that in the next raid to get the newest gear. But I mean, that's kind of how Crota's was, the Crota raid. My only other thought is maybe they're going to allow us to reforge gear other than Iron Banner gear, and by reforging our armor, we'll be able to get a new light level with it.
Man, that is a great point. That would be so awesome. Imagine being able to take your gear that you have right now, like your raid gear, and are able to somehow turn it into a higher level. That's a really great thought, and definitely something that, I don't know, it's not impossible to think. That was awesome. Jez, what about you? Do you have ideas on this subject?
Well, I kind of mentioned in chat how I thought it would work out, how it would be better, but like the problem that they run across is the raids don't overlap. Like you have Crota starting at 30, and then hard mode's 32, and then the next one's probably going to be 32, and then 34 for the hard mode. If they overlapped, you could have it so that the people that did the raid gear are at 30, or people with the raid gear for the current raid are at 32, and people with vendor gear are still stuck at 31. They can still do the new raid, and the people with the raid gear would have a boost. Like, they would already be, trying to phrase it, like, you would be able to go further with the raid gear. Like, you wouldn't have to replace it as quickly.
I like that.
I tried to put it into terms, but I keep bringing back to like World of Warcraft, where your like in World of Warcraft, all your gear is just stats. So it's always one gear is always going to have a little bit more of everything. But in this game, your light level is the only thing that matters because everything else is already capped out since level 30.
Man, that's a good point too.
But like for your raid gear, you would always want raid gear for the current raid to be higher level than the vendor gear. And at the same time, you would want your past raid to still be higher than your current vendor gear. Because otherwise, people that just jump in would get the vendor gear and already be higher than the raid for the last tier.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm going with that thought. Like when I look at it from the way River was talking about, it's, you know, it doesn't invalidate it in that you can still use that gear for everything that you had done previously. I guess I just keep having to remind myself that in no game do you just get the best stuff and then just sit on it, you know, especially one that has new content. There is no, like, here is the new and here is the more powerful. You know, I keep forgetting that, like River was saying, you can go back and you've still got this gear that will help you through these lower ones. I think I just wish that there was more of a growth with the gear that you have. Like I don't feel any I don't feel any loyalty or any, you know, true connection to the gear that I have. Because I just know that there's something newer going to show up here at any time. I did, however, run the hard Vault of Glass and get the Caber's Battle Cage, and was really excited about it. I was really excited about getting it, even though it's a lower level helmet, and who cares about that? But I don't know. What about you, Agrios? Did you have some ideas about this?
No, we pretty much talked about anything like along the lines of what I was thinking as well. I mean, I just think reforging should be a thing. I mean, I think that would solve so many issues of so many kinds. Like, there are definitely weapons from the past that I really, really like, that I really, really am sad that I never use anymore just because they're so outclassed. I have something so similar that's so much better, but not necessarily the same fun to use as that piece I was using before. I just liked it better. So it would kill so many birds with one stone to add reforging to the game.
Man, I wonder how that would break it, though. Like, I wonder if this is something that they've already gone over. This goes back to something I was saying a while back. Like, what can I hope for in Destiny? You know, like, where is the line of what could come out, and what have they just crossed off the list? You know, it feels like maybe the Iron Banner gear should be special in some way, despite it just being trees and wolves. And that's why you have the re-rolling, or maybe the re-rolling for Iron Banner is like a testing ground. You know, like, it will really only be the people who grind out those banners that will be doing this. Let's see how they use it. So,
well, I like the suggestion where, I mean, if you want to prevent it from getting out of hand, I like the suggestion that you would use commendations for reforging. I mean, you can only earn commendations so fast. Your rep can only go up so fast. It's going to restrict how many reforges any given person can actually do, and you're only going to reforge things you really want to if you have to burn a commendation to do it.
yeah, that's true. Well, we lost River. It must have been him. Awesome.
Proceeding?
Yes, please.
Proceeding. So last week when Xur came, he was not met with very much enthusiasm. The community was a bit up in arms when they discovered that he was offering the same exact wares that he was offering on January 2nd. And immediately Redditors started calculating the astronomical odds of this actually happening. An old video surfaced of Deej offhandedly commenting about the loot Xur carried, and it was believed that Xur was not randomized. Well, this was addressed by Deej this week, and he made it very clear that Xur is randomized. They are able to see what he is going to sell in advance of them selling it, but the fact is that Xur's gear is selected by RNGesus.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you guys? How did you feel when you saw that loot come up? That exact same loot. Were you disappointed? And did you previously think that Xur was engineered?
I was thinking that there had to be some engineering going on. Like, it makes sense to me when they say that he is random. It makes sense to me that they have to have it be random in order for it to be equal to everyone playing. But I thought for certain that, you know, it just makes sense if you want your player base to covet something like this Yellhorn, which Deej says is his number one asked question, even before more vault space. That has made it rare. He sold it once early in the game. People are picking it up randomly throughout the game, and that's it. Like, it's not something like Plan C. Like, everybody who wants a Plan C has one right now, unless you just started playing. So I think that in the overall, I would want to, if I was at Destiny, if I would want to engineer it so that the people had the amount that I imagined in the game, right? Like Suros has been up twice now, right? Only 2 times. And so that's it. Like, all of those people, like they put out some stats today showing that Suros enjoys a very healthy use rate. So they don't need to put it out there anymore. Like, enough people have it to where it's, but at the same time, yeah, it only makes sense for it to be random. And I feel like the randomness it almost ruins it. At the same time, it's the only way forward. Are you here, River? It says you're resetting your Xbox. I guess River's not here. So it I don't know. Well, what do you think, Crimson?
So I follow a lot of the bigger streamers, King Gathalion, Professor Broman, all those guys, and for a while, Goth was saying that, you know, Xur had to be engineered, and then we see this post that comes out, and to me, my thought was, you know, I understand it's random, but the weird thing to me, and this was Goth's reasoning, was the amount of expansion loot that Xur's had since the expansions come out kind of points to it being more engineered than random. And my only guess to that is that it's more that the weight for the expansion gear is heavier, so that it comes out more often. But I would also think that they'd have a back door to where, if we didn't see this happen, but when Warlocks caught the Sunbreaker for 9 weeks in a row, it seemed like that they would have changed it or something. But that's all random, so there's nothing that it seems like will change with that.
Right? It's so random that it does not feel random. Like I have picked up seriously 4 or 5 No Land Beyonds over on each Xbox and PlayStation, and I'm so sick of looking at it. It's so the randomness, I feel like, it takes part of the game out. I feel like I don't know, like there should be a way of the game checking, well, have you got this already? No, let's give you something else. Like I don't know. Jez, what do you think about this?
Well, first I'll say that, to be fair, if something is truly random, like shuffling a deck of cards, eventually you can shuffle it to be back in order. But yeah, astronomical odds. But the way that I thought of it, when I seen like everything is the same, my idea was that maybe it's random, but they go off of like different sets of items. Like every time set number 32 is rolled, it brings up this one particular set of items, so that it's not individually rolled, but that there's several different, like, basically categories of things to roll rather than individually. I'm rambling now.
Okay, so what you're saying is the chances of him rolling all of the same ones in one shell is a lot harder to swallow than the much lower odds of him rolling the same each individual, because there's so few if you look at them individually. So what you're saying is that they're rolled individually. It's not just here's Xur and here's what he has, but it's here's Xur and here's this one, here's this one, here's this one, here's this one. Is that what you're saying?
Well, more the opposite. Like, basically what he has is one set of items, and that entire set of items is based off of one roll, rather than each item being rolled separately.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
That way, they wouldn't have to worry about it accidentally giving 2 hunter items or something.
I gotcha. What do you think about this, River?
I agree with Jez.
That's pretty
I missed most of the conversation. I had to reset my Xbox. Am I coming in clear?
Yeah, you sound great.
Okay, yeah, everybody was coming in choppy.
All right, so why don't we throw this to Agrios, and then you can add in anything at the end of his speech.
Word.
Okay, well, I mean, I'm not sure what I think actually happens for certain. I haven't come to a conclusion myself. I mean, they say they're random. There's at least some amount of randomization, but either Jez or Crimson could be correct. Certain items could just have bigger weighting than others. Like, it comes down to, like, it's a dice roll of 1 to 100. Well, if some items might only occupy 3 numbers on that 1 to 100, other items may occupy 6 or 7 numbers on that 1 to 100. So there's a better chance of those coming up, although it's still a random selection. What Jez says, though, actually makes a good point in explaining why the exact same set of items that appeared on January 2nd is that if, say, Dragon's Breath always comes up with either those ones you saw or like maybe there's 5 different Dragon Breath sets, and each of those Dragon Breath sets comes up with this one with this 3, this one's with this 3 items, this one's with this 3 items, and when it rolls one of the Dragon Breath, it rolls that whole set.
Interesting.
So I think they're both very good possibilities.
The problem with the different stat weightings all brings back to the original reason why people were up in arms about it, is that they were thinking that they were rolling expansion items like as a conspiracy theory to sell more expansions because you can't
Right.
buy them without the expansion.
Oh, and that means they're not going to drop without the expansion too, huh?
Right.
I wonder if that affects the overall. Okay, so let's just say at the end of a Nightfall, you have a 5% chance of getting an exotic. I wonder if they've split up that 5% chance to 2.5 of one and 2.5 of the other. So at the end of the Nightfall, you only have a 2.5% chance of getting one. Because otherwise, if you didn't buy one, then you have a much higher chance of getting Yellowhorn. And that's an interesting way of trying to game that. Did you have something to add to this, River?
I'm sorry, say that again.
River, did now that Agrios has recapped this, did you have something else to add to this?
Nope. As I said before, I do completely agree with Jets.
Good deal.
My thoughts
I,
exactly.
I should add though that there was some talk that someone uninstalled the expansion and they had higher drop loot rolls of like the non-expansion items, but that could have also been just a total lie because someone else did it and they're like, it just told me to reinstall the expansion.
Totally. Totally.
Yeah, I don't see why it would affect that much because people who didn't buy the actual expansion still get all the expansion items and things. They're not prohibited from using any of that.
I don't think they get the exotics or the drops, do they?
Yeah, they get the exact. All the items are universal to everyone. They only can't access the stages. Like Xur's inventory is there for everybody. I mean, can people without the expansion just like not buy the expansion items?
Well, from the sounds of it, it sounds like that's the issue that people
Oh,
can't
see, I
buy.
thought. Oh, I see. I thought they could. I thought those items were all still usable because I knew they appeared for everybody there like that. So, what can people who don't own the expansion not buy any vendor gear?
Apparently,
No.
they can't buy anything with the little one in the corner.
Wow.
Which is like all of
I
the
don't.
vendor gear,
I
except
don't
for
know,
the.
man.
River.
I think I remember Deej saying that all the gear is available to everybody.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
Well, we'll find out.
an
Research.
We'll find out at least later on tonight. Actually, if anyone has a picture or anyone knows, please post in the chat. Okay, Moore says non-expansion people can't be Xur things. I don't understand what you're saying exactly, but I'm thinking you can't buy Xur things. Like when you hover over that, is it just grayed out and it has the little checkbox for the dark below? I don't know because I bought it before it came out. I bought the whole thing before the game came out.
Yeah, same here. So I never had an experience without that.
Interesting. Let's move on.
Okay, moving on. We'll move into the weekly updates now. Last week we didn't air, so a quick note: they introduced Sandbox engineer John Cable, who is currently hunting and hopefully squashing one of the most hated bugs in Destiny, the dreaded loss of the purple ammo. Anytime you would die and spawn back in, go to a cutscene, or come in from orbit, there is a chance that you be missing a portion of your precious purple blocks. They've since promised that as long as everything goes according to plan, we'll have a fix for that in place by the end of February, along with the new update 1.1.1. In the new update, they're going to be doing a rebalancing of our weapons, and they introduced Sandbox designer John Wisniewski. Sorry, I think I said that right. Not quite sure, but they introduced him to detail the changes coming to the weapons in Destiny. First, they talk about auto rifles. It's our goal for the auto rifle to be a visceral, close to medium range chainsaw. It should reward target tracking and drop in effectiveness at longer ranges. As far as the changes go, their goals are to make the auto rifle optimal at close to medium range. Damage, stability, and range are tuned such that players desire stability for reliable close quarters damage and range for better accuracy at a distance. The changes they're going to implement reduce the base damage of auto rifles from 2.5%, averaged using the rate of fire. They're going to reduce the effective range values so that damage, fall off, and accuracy are a stronger factor in combat decisions. And range reduction is less severe in the higher stat values, so now your range stat is more critical to long distance engagements. Next, they mentioned pulse rifles. They recently asked on their Twitter what your favorite pulse rifles were, and there is they heard the community's feelings on pulse rifles loud and clear. Pulse rifle, they want to make pulse rifles optimal at medium range, but can still effectively harass enemies at close or long range distances. And they want the rate of fire to set a pace for players to both track moving targets and then deliver precision damage in bursts. The change they're going to implement increases the base damage of pulse rifles by 9.7%. The DPS is now more in line with other primaries. The hand cannons are intended to be ideal weapon for precision-minded players on the move, and their goal is that they should be ideal at close to medium range. The hand cannon should be optimal when shots are paced and will become less effective when fired quickly. It is to reward agility when under fire, precision targeting, and snapshots. They're going to reduce the effective range, and damage fall-off starts closer to the shooter, and follow-up shots are less accurate at longer ranges. There's also going to be a slight reduction to initial accuracy, and this is unnoticeable at medium to close range, but underscores the range intentions when used from far away. So there shouldn't be much noticeable difference to your up-close accuracy, but the longer ranges are once again going to suffer. They're also making changes to both shotguns and fusion rifles. Fusion rifles are optimal at mid-range, where targets are easier to track, but they're not close enough to attack while you charge up. And they want them to require combat foresight and the ability to predict a target's movement to be mastered in order to use it successfully. The changes they're actually going to make is that the blast pattern on the fusion rifle burst cone is going to be a little bit wider. At close to medium range, volleys are largely unaffected, but at a distance, the projectiles are less likely to land hits on a single target. This reduces the reliability of landing a one-hit kill at far range and makes the weapon better for spreading damage into a group. Initial starting ammo is reduced across all ammo stats. This change primarily affects the Crucible. Starting a Crucible match, you'll have less fusion rifle ammo in reserve. In PvE, activities will persistently track your ammo. We only use initial ammo values if you're logging in for the first time or starting a Crucible match. Shotguns see a lot of active use in PvP, but almost are entirely avoided in PvE. They want shotguns to be the most optimal at very close range. They complement melee attacks and other close-quarter class builds. Offensively, closing on an enemy with a shotgun is a risk-reward timing game. The changes they're making are increasing the damage by 2 times, 100%, against all non-Guardian combatants, aka aliens. They reduce the high-end range values. Damage fall-off starts sooner, so Crucible players with long-range shotguns need to be a little closer for successful one-hit kills. And like the fusion rifle, the initial starting ammo is reduced across all ammo stats in the Crucible. Starting a Crucible match, you have less shotgun ammo and everything just like the fusion rifle. The rest of the weapons will remain largely unchanged. And as always, these are works in progress, but they hope to have them implemented by the end of February. Are you guys excited about the weapon changes?
I'm excited that they're continuing to discuss with us what they're doing and why they're doing it. I think that that's going to take a lot of the sting out of much of this. Excited to get to River about this, but I think that I really enjoyed that article that Wisniewski wrote. I met him at the launch of Destiny. I waited in that giant line, and he was making his way through the crowd with Josh Hamrick, and I stopped both of them and talked to him. And I got a little fanboy because I don't know, like I've been checking out their work for so long, and it was just, I don't know, they're just dudes, just cool dudes. 2 things I would like to say to him though about this article. Number 1, the color of the bars. Go ahead and change the color of the bars, but you should probably change the color with the specific number. So like if you wanted to make the lightest blue represent the most number, then have it go down from there as where it will get darker and darker the less it gets used. I would do it the other way around, but so the graphs that he produced, they told you the information, but it just, in my eye, it was not, I don't know, it just didn't look very good. And number two, I would really, really love to have a visual on what they consider close range. So what I would like to have is where do they, because he says they outline the goals of what they want each of these weapons to be, and then they outline how they planned on attacking that. What I would like to see is how far away is a guardian supposed to be so you can one hit kill them? Like what is it that they are seeing that they want to do? Like, we're all talking about these numbers and we are discussing that we don't want it to be a long range killing fest. What is the optimal, how far away is it where Suros does its most damage? I would like to see a first person point of view, and then I would like to see the distance from another guardian. Like, how far away do you expect this to really work? Like, I think that visual would really help me to understand what it is that they want to do with these weapons. I mean, they've already said it all in words. I need to see a visual on this. And everything is cool. Like I use Suros all the time, and Deej even mentions it as a go-to for basically everything. And I'm down for that. Like, I love the Suros. But I'm curious to know, River, what you think about all this. Like, you are a Thorn player. And congratulations to you. Like, the more I try on this Thorn bounty, it is rough. It is rough. Like, a lot of people say, oh, you didn't earn that icebreaker. There's no way you can say to somebody, oh, you didn't earn that Thorn. Because in my opinion, that's really the only one that you earn. Bad Juju is probably the next one up, but that's simply just a crunch. Like, you will always move up in points, and it's only 10,000 sounds like a lot, but if you don't do horrible, you could get 750 in a match and then be done with it in no time. So what do you think, River? Does this sound like the death of your pistol usage, or is this just fine and bring it on?
Well, real quick, can you guys hear me okay? Because everybody seems to be cutting out for me.
Yeah,
we can hear you fine.
Okay, good. I'm glad everybody can hear me fine. A couple of things on here. I really personally really like this article. I really like how they kind of gave us some numbers, their goals, and what it is that they're doing to make changes to meet those goals. And I agree with a lot of these goals, and I agree with a lot of these changes, because these are changes that I feel, from a personal standpoint, from playing a lot of Crucible, that this is the way that a lot of the meta, thank you, Bife, should be going. And I really appreciate the buff to the pulse rifle, because I've been wanting to get my hands on the Bad Juju as far as in the Crucible and just kind of trying it out, but I never really had that incentive to kind of go out of my element and put Bad Juju on. This is gonna be it for me. I have to admit that I haven't really pulled out Thorn in a while, because of the meta, because of how good the Suros regime is in PvP, and as well as how good it is in Crota Zen, especially since I'm a hunter and I need to have some way to get my health back, type of deal. So
interesting.
Yeah, I know it. And for you, Remy, the whole Thorn bounty, I just want to say for us hunters, that thing is particularly tough since we don't have any void anything, totally. Basically. And every time I get the Thorn bounty, I still go through it every single time. So I'm working on my 4th now.
That's awesome. I wish I had an Xbox One, because I would just hop in with you and then maybe win.
Yeah, so there you go. But again, I do want to emphasize that a lot of these changes may not seem that great of changes to some, and for some people it's like game breaking to them. Why are you messing with my gun? Why are you messing with my favorite gun? But they're trying to make baby steps as far as changes. They're trying to tweak things here and there to make sure that everybody has a viable option. Every playstyle is viable and is powerful against every.
Yeah.
That's my 2 cents on it.
No, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of 2 cents. A big 2 cents.
Thank you.
Warlock, what you got?
I was extremely happy to read pretty much all of these weapon upgrade changes. Whether they were increasing my favorite weapon. I can't wait to see how pulse rifles are after they get buffed. I can't wait till I get an oversoul edict, and that'll probably be the only weapon I use other than a bad juju because I love pulse rifles. I know I'm weird like that. But I also found it really funny because I had a coworker who read the changes for the hand cannons, and he just immediately started to freak out. And he's like, "All right, that's it. I'm done with Destiny." I'm like, "Dude, you're not even gonna notice it in PvE. I promise you." Because he does PvP a fair amount, but he just got a Hawk Moon, and so he was really upset to hear about these changes. And I'm just like, yeah, when I have seen players in Blind Watch, where point A is, when they stand on the silo that's right next to point A, can snipe the people that are like over by point C, hand cannons need a nerf. Like, and that's the nerf that they're kind of getting. And he just wouldn't accept it. He was just like, "No, they're going to be horrible. I'm never going to be able to use a hand cannon again." So it was funny to see both sides of the coin. But I am also glad to know that I can go into PvP and not get one-shotted by a shotgun from half a screen away, I feel. This is one thing for me. I've never understood why shotguns were ever able to roll the Send It perk. Like, they shouldn't be able to get that perk, in my opinion. But we'll see how different shotguns are after they get changed as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. Jez.
So, disregarding the entire conversation that we're already having, where's the scout love? No one likes scout rifle, or well, Bungie doesn't like scout rifles. It's like they ignored Stepchild. It's not unloved; they just ignore it.
Right. Well, I think it's important to remember that Bungie is making changes to these things because they're not operating how they intended them to. You know, like they wanted to start out with these base values because these base values were awesome, and then they look at the numbers and they think to themselves, well, this Hawk Moon just hits too far. Like we never intended it to be a sniper rifle, and now people are using it as that, and it's thrown this balance out. You know,
yeah, it is true that like pulse rifles were like they were the worst of the worst, and people would kick people out for using a pulse rifle.
Right.
Which, like, we were doing a bad exotic run, like, for practice once. And we're like, okay, let's all switch to some bad exotic. And, like, half of us switched to bad juju. And this was after the buff. And we're like, we actually got to stop using this because this is actually good. Like, on the ad heavy fights, bad juju is good.
Yeah. Yeah, I really enjoy bad juju.
It's probably the most underrated gun in the game.
Bad juju with the obsidian mind makes Nova bombs forever.
I'm gonna have to check that out.
No, as a Titan, apparently our exotics aren't that flashy enough to give us exotics or give us supers forever.
The Cryptarch tweeted out this afternoon if the pulse rifles in Destiny become the BR of Halo, then he's going to have to stop giving them out. I just laughed and laughed.
Yeah, I saw that.
Seriously, I've gotten so many pulse rifles, and they just feel like they get away from me. You know, like I feel like that there is no way of really becoming accurate with them. You know, like.
But it's kind of funny though that when I started playing like on Xbox 360, I had Call of Duty 2, and they had I can't remember what it was. I just know the site's an ACOG, but I think it was a FAMAS, and it was just a 3-round burst, which is basically a pulse rifle, and it felt so good But then you get the pulse rifles in this game, and it just doesn't feel good, and I don't know what the difference is.
Right, I think it's because you can't control it, because there is no control. Even on heavy machine guns with the stability lowered, there is some kind of control. Like I don't feel like
it's almost like 1 round burst. Obviously, you're pointing it directly where you want it to go, and if it's sustained fire like a heavy machine gun or an auto rifle, you can train it back to where it's supposed to be. But if it's 3 round burst, it's annoying to predict it every time.
Oh, and then make those corrections. Yeah, that's a good point.
I think that heavily depends on which which pulse rifle you get as well. Because, there's hidden stats on all the weapons that we don't get to see, which is kind of annoying. But, like, for instance, there's stability and recoil. There's 2 different stats. So, recoil is the direction that it moves in, and stability is how far it moves off of target. I know I have one pulse rifle. It's a 3 little words, and it came with Field Scout with 42 rounds in it and rangefinder, and I'm actually really happy with it. And at a pretty good range, I can put all 3 shots into a headshot.
Wow, that sounds pretty good. That sounds awesome.
What was the name of the pulse rifle that you get from hard mode, Crota? Is it like Oversoul's Edict or something like that?
That's
Exactly.
what Crimson Warlock was talking about.
For Crota? Oh, I don't know what Crota's is.
Okay.
I just remember.
You were correct. That's what it was.
Kratos timepiece
Oh yeah, for that one feels. What's that?
from Vision of Confluence.
Okay.
Or from
Cool.
From
Vault
Vault
of
of
Glass.
Glass.
Okay.
Vision of Confluence. That's
I was
entire
trying
range
that
is
new
Vision
one.
of Confluence for me.
I was trying that new one, and it's like an auto pulse rifle. Those shots go everywhere, man. I'm having a hard time getting a hold of that one.
Right.
See, that's because the recoil stat is probably higher on that than other ones. The higher the recoil stat, jacked up your pattern goes, and the more like kick there is in it. And stability is how far each one moves your target. Then there's also muzzle climb. How far does it come back to your original target after each shot? So there's all those factors that up.
For me at least, I'm so used to using a hand cannon with each pull of the trigger. And this thing seems to have like a hair trigger on it. So every time I pull the trigger, I accidentally shoot twice. And it just throws me off every time. And I think it's like max 3 or 4 shots or something before you have to reload. Thanks, Shusky. Oversoul Edict. Thank you.
I've kind of had that problem with bad juju, where I will try and only shoot 1 burst, but I will end up getting 2 bursts out of it.
It's surprising, right?
Yeah,
Throws
it
you
is.
off.
It is, but I mean, if there's a bunch of thrall there, then that additional 1 isn't such a bad thing. And that's really the situation that I'll use it. I'll use it if I know I'm going into hive territory, because I mean, it instantly reloading is amazing. It's amazing. Like I've emptied out so much ammunition without reloading, just without thinking about it, because it's just, I don't know. It's awesome. Super awesome. Agrios?
All right.
Continuing, one thing they note at the end of the weapon report there is a question they hear often is, why did you nerf my favorite weapon? Why not make other ones better and leave mine alone? Good question. Here's why. We pay close attention to kill times in all game modes and against all combatant types. If we brought up all the other weapons to account for lethality spikes that occur in specific situations, then our TTK, time to kill, would get faster with every patch. It's important to us to keep TTK values such that your arsenal feels lethal, but also both allows for some drama while you fight, and creates opportunities for counterplay when you're being attacked.
Okay, so this right here is what made Halo great. For those of you listening who've never played Halo, that was it. That's the difference for me between Halo and basically every other shooter ever, was the fact that just because I was seen first did not mean that I died first. And that TTK is part of what makes Destiny special too. Like just being taken down is such a horrible feeling. Like I want to have a chance. I want there to be that drama. I want there to be that dance. And that makes a ton of sense. This makes a ton of sense.
I agree.
Moving on. Bungie recently did a community focus. That wizard came from the moon. It was about the first annual Mars Interplanetary Freestyle Sparrow Championship. Guardians could become involved by creating and uploading a video to YouTube showing off your Mad Sparrow eliteness. Tag it with hashtag TWCFTM, and the deadline's on February 7th, 2015. One entry per YouTube account. Need to use the EV30 tumbler, and tricks must be performed on the planet Mars. Have any of you guys entered the competition?
I have not, but I'm glad that you brought this up because the deadline is tomorrow, and what a cool thing to take part in. I doubt that I will because I'm not. Like, I've actually been practicing a lot just because it's something to do on my way from point A to point B. But I don't know. This is a really cool thing, and I'm glad that Bungie is supporting it and pushing it through. River, do you play around on your bike very much?
Only whenever I'm traveling from point A to point B.
Yeah,
I can't seem to get the directional pad to coincide with any spins that I do.
That one's tough
for me.
That one's tough. I've been working on that one. It is tough. Warlock?
I don't think I'll participate. I mean, it's something fun, but I do love the Tumblr. And I feel bad for everyone who won't ever get to experience it now that it's gone.
What do you mean?
There was a limited time thing, and it ended like a week or so ago. Something like that.
But I think they're actually going to end up making those sparrows available to everyone at one point, because when they initially released these, they said they want the people who pre-ordered the DLC or who are buying the DLC to get a chance at them first, implying that these would be somewhat like the PlayStation exclusives. They're going to be exclusive to the people who qualified to get them initially for a certain period of time and then be released to others. Now, they haven't. There's nothing other than the way they phrased that initially leading me to believe that, but that's what I always suspected.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, it could be that way. We'll just have to wait and see. But the way I thought of it was, if you didn't get it now, you missed out. They're now legend.
Jez, are you participating?
Well, likely not, just because every time I try to use a Tumblr to do something fun, I just end up writing my face on the ground.
Yeah, that happens to me a lot too, but that's all in service of getting better use out of it. Agrios.
In other news, during a financial meeting this week, it was announced that Destiny has currently 16 million registered players, and that active players are playing an average of 3 hours per day. Along with Hearthstone, it generated $850 million in revenue for Activision.
That's crazy. And More Console tweeted that between Destiny and World of Warcraft, they have 40 million registered users. Or I think that's
actually between Destiny and Hearthstone, they have 40 million registered users.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think World of Warcraft's sitting around 10, 11, or 12 million right now.
That's it?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, it's gone. Well, for a subscription MMO, that's insane amounts of numbers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could see that.
That's a lot of money coming into them from a lot of different people. You look at how much they're spending on that compared to how much people are spending on Destiny.
Every month, plus the $25 amounts that you can buy in the store.
Continuing.
Go for it. Oh.
Not
we
continuing.
Lost Agrios. Yeah. The end. I wonder what happened. Uh-oh.
Unmute yourself.
Here it is. There's a problem with this call. Hold on while we try to get the call back. Sad.
At least it wasn't one of those glitches where all of a sudden he comes back and everything comes at 10 times the speed.
Maybe it's going to.
Information vomit.
You still there, Agrios?
Oh yeah, did you not hear me? Did I cut out?
The whole thing,
Yeah.
the whole thing almost ended. Yeah, we didn't hear anything. You said moving on, or you said continuing, and then nothing happened.
Oh, okay. Well, no, I definitely continued at that point. Bungie has announced a new community event, the Bungie Ride Along. The first one's going to be hosted by More Console and senior artist Blake Lowe. And they're going to be touring Venus Friday, February 6th from 1 to 3 p.m. Pacific time. Are you guys going to be tuning into that?
Yes. Yes, that's going to be really cool. This is going to be very similar to like watching a movie, but with the director commentary on. I'm very excited to see what little secrets they dig up. River?
I'm not going to be watching, but I do agree that this is actually a really nice change of pace for a lot of things. And just to take a quote from Twisted Shots TV, it is a good chance to keep the game diverse and the community, interested in all kinds of things here.
Definitely. Warlock?
Yeah, I'll turn into it and watch it. And my only comment to it is for everyone who says that Bungie doesn't care or they don't they're not in touch with the community. If they didn't care and they didn't want to be in touch, they wouldn't be doing stuff like this.
It's true. Very true. Jez?
Probably not, but only because I'll be working. But I'm sure they'll be in the post videos that I'll be able to catch up on, though.
Awesome. Continuing.
That's most of the main news for this week. Although there's a couple other things of note. There was a Crota Z normal mode no gun run, as well as a hard mode Crota kill in one sword.
Right. This is all. I love when the community sets the high bar. Like there was the Vidmaster achievements from Halo, and those were meant to be, fringe. Like you're doing these things if you really, really, really want to do it. Like at no point did Bungie say, oh, let's see if you can do this in one swing. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty certain they didn't know that was possible, or at least probably had not had that done in studio or by their testers. And so I love it when the community does their own thing. Like when the guy ran it solo, like that was that's impressive. That is all super impressive, Continuing.
There is one last thing I have to note here. There is an excellent in-depth weapon stats spreadsheet for PvP mainly, although it gives tons of good information for PvE as well, put together by EXX Trooper on Reddit. And there's just some really, really fascinating comparisons to be made in this information. For instance, something of note would be that the Green Sidonia with Focus Fire has the same kill time as a Soros in Standard Crucible.
You know what? I just picked up that weapon, and I've just been going through all of the trash that you pick up while doing patrols or whatever. And when you take attack value out, a lot of these things are really awesome. So I've been digging through all of the Galahads and all of the Sidonias and checking it all out, and that's cool. So what you're saying is that they have a spreadsheet for this information available, so you will know which one you're looking for.
Yeah, it's broken down very well into kill time for various different types of Guardians in the Crucible. It's broken down to how many bullets it takes to kill a Guardian of a standard sort per gun. So, I mean, you can really apples and apples compare these guns. This is how many bullets it takes to kill it. Now, a fire rate obviously will affect, how quickly you can deliver those bullets, but then that's why they have the TTK listed, and it's just it's a really nice breakdown. I stared at the chart for probably 2 hours.
That's awesome.
But that pretty much wraps up the news for this week.
Hey, this just in. Destiny just won DICE Award, Outstanding Sound Design.
Man, I bet they did.
They also won Outstanding Online Experience and something else. They won like 3 or 4.
Yeah, I'm looking through here. I'm trying to find them all. That's the first one I saw was Outstanding Sounded.
Man, that's awesome. Jay Wyland, he had just tweeted about Wish Me Luck, and I tweeted back to him. I said, "Luck favors the prepared, but you don't need luck because you have talent and passion." And that's really where Bungie shines. You know, they want to make a great game. They want to do their best. There is no room at Bungie for, you know, people who don't have talent, people who don't have passion. And probably, hopefully, I'm thinking in equal portions, you know, because if you have too much talent, you might just think that you can, you know, fiddle fart around. Yeah, this will work. But congratulations to you, Bungie, especially on that sound design because it's amazing. I got a pair of those PlayStation Gold headphones for Christmas. And it really turned the entire game into a different creature. And I hesitate to use it when I'm on the moon, just because there's always like this hive, you know, growling just in the distance, and it's more than a bit unsettling. So they definitely did a good job there.
Action Game of the Year.
Action Game of the Year.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome, very awesome. Yeah, congrats to you guys. So is that it? Anybody else have anything else they wanted to add before we take off? Well, all right.
Original music composition.
Oh, here it is. Action Game of the Year, Outstanding Original Music Composition, Outstanding Online Gameplay. Yeah, I would. I mean, if we're going to compare Destiny from what we want it to be from what it is, it's going to be slightly a letdown. But if you compare Destiny to where we are in terms of enjoyment, like I feel like the meat and potatoes of this game is all there. I'm just ready for dessert. You know, I'm ready for shaders for the ships. I'm ready for spaceship battles. Like I would really like it if Bungie could just say to me, hey, we're never going to have spaceship flights. And then I could just let it go. You know, I could just drop it. But at that point, I wouldn't just drop it. I would turn around and say, well, why the fuck not? You know, like, let's have it. I mean, River, would you be interested in spaceship battles? Is that something you'd take part in?
Well, yeah, absolutely. But at this point, I'm not really sure if that has a place in this game.
Seriously?
Yeah, seriously.
So you think
not with the way the game's designed right now at this moment. I think it just would be too out of place.
Okay, so there's a spaceship that I picked up, and I wish I had written it down, but it said somewhere all along there, interplanetary travel is dangerous because of fallen raid teams or something like this, and that's exciting to me. Like, what if you don't make it to your destination? You have to fight off these fallen. I agree that there would have to be an additional level to support that. But
you know where it has a place?
Where's that?
Breaking into the Reef Raid.
Oh, that would be cool. So what you're saying is because what I'm talking about is Crucible, but in your spaceship. That would be awesome. I've actually been.
I think we're talking about another game now.
Yeah.
Okay, well, maybe we're
Welcome
talking
to Star
about.
Commander.
Maybe we're talking about a game, Destiny down the way. I want it.
Spin-off, maybe.
Destiny.
Yeah, like Destiny
Jump
2,
to light
mainly
speed.
mainly because that they want to mirror image everything on the PS3 that they're doing on the PS4 is why I just have no hope for any sort of content like that until Destiny 2 hits.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so shout-outs? Agrios.
I'm just going to make a stupid noise for my shut out tonight.
Perfect. Did you already make it?
Yeah. The first one is stupid enough. I'll do it again. There we go.
I like it. I like it a lot. Jez.
Shout out to Reddit for being the best and the worst place on the internet.
Man, I hear that. I'm gonna start putting out questions. Like, I'm gonna talk to you guys about a topic that we'd like to discuss, and I'm gonna start posting it on Reddit and then discussing the discussing the replies on the show, and I looked at your thread today, Jez, and it was a really great example, except for why are so many people worried about formatting? Oh my God, the too long didn't read. The too long didn't read was a paragraph, and the rest of it was your post. And you posted it at the beginning so people could just read it. That it infuriated me that the most comments you got were about, oh, the too long didn't read was too long, so I didn't read it. It didn't make any
Apparently,
sense.
people don't like the TLDR being like after an introductory paragraph.
Right? You really kicked a hornet's nest with that. But yeah, that's awesome. Great shout out. Crimson Warlock.
Mine's just going out to our regular list of viewers and everyone. So keep being awesome.
Agreed. River.
Shout out to Monty Ohm of Rooster Teeth, who we all lost on February 1st. To me personally, he was a hero of mine, and I'm just gonna miss him.
Do you have an example of what he's best known for? Because I know the name and I've seen his work, but perhaps people who are listening aren't as familiar as you or I. What would you say is his claim to fame? Was there like a standout in your mind? Something that he did or something he was part of?
Well, I was first introduced to his work with Dead Fantasy 2, and it was basically 11 minutes of pure fight scene with characters from Final Fantasy and Dead or Alive. But his claim to fame, his first thing was the Aloy video, which was like a Master Chief versus Samus Aran from Metroid.
Awesome.
It was a huge fight scene. It was wonderful. And he really inspired me to try to create, content for people to consume, to kind of get out there and be creative with some of my time. And I don't really have time now to do as much as I would like. But he was always saying, keep moving forward. And that's one of the things I'm going to be doing.
Awesome.
Oh,
awesome.
Yeah. I think his most widely known thing, you guys heard of Ruby?
Ruby, is that how you say that?
RWBY?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a original anime that's produced over at Rooster Teeth. He's the creator, and it is internationally known. Millions of people watch it, and this guy, he started off just creating, poor kid, just creating stuff on his own. If he didn't have it, he just made it, and then he moved on to work at Midway. He worked on Afro Samurai, that video game.
Awesome.
Yeah, I know. So he was a good guy.
Awesome. Right on. My shout out is to K-Dub, a regular listener and also a member of Guardian 1. He sent me and Agrios and Sharks 3D Man these really awesome skins for our PlayStation 4 controllers, but it had like the Guardian 1 symbol on the touchpad, and it had like my icon, my avatar on one of the handles. It was really super cool, very super specific to us, and I don't know, it really was a great Christmas present. So thank you, K-Dub. Also, I would like to thank everyone listening for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you have any questions or suggestions for topics to be discussed on the show, please leave them in the comments below or send them to feedback@guardian1.net, and we will see you next week.